Hey guys, today we're trying to get a perfect score on World Cities, and then we're going to do some research on the locations, reconvene, and share our findings with each other. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Hope you enjoy.
Round one. Fight!
Where's that flag? Something said Trujillo, which I think,
I think that's Peru, man.
yeah, hold on. Alright, so we're going to be in Trujillo. The Peru flag, it doesn't have an emblem in the center, does it? It does. Well, no, it's showing me both right now. So the one, the coat of arms, is just for government and official purposes. The other one without, they use for everything else. So I found like a square in the center of the city, which it looks like the one I'm looking at. We're in front of the cultural center of Trujillo. Yeah, okay, I found the spot for sure.
Yup.
Dang.
Trujillo is the third largest city in Peru and resides on the northern coast of the country. It is nicknamed the City of Eternal Spring due to it having great weather year-round and beautiful beaches nearby. Trujillo is full of colorful colonial buildings and a bright yellow cathedral. From the outside, it looks completely normal and pleasant, but
Just outside the city, near the beach town of Huanchaco, is the world's largest mass child sacrifice. It was discovered in 2011 when a local business owner's kids came home from playing carrying human bones. Archaeologists excavated it and found 140 plus children, ages 5 to 14, all killed in a single event around 1450 AD. Confirmed as the
Oh,
Yeah, it was confirmed as the largest mass child sacrifice ever recorded in human history.
when you first said it, I was thinking it was like a recent thing. You said it was found in 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking like it happened just before then, and I was like, holy crap, how did I not hear of that? But they were just
No, yeah,
doing that.
this was back in the day, dude. They're just trying to make it rain.
Just trying to get good corn. That's it.
Here's also an interesting thing about this is that there's actually a residential neighborhood built on top of it. So
Sure.
there's people
Yeah.
living on top of the world's largest mass child grave. But they didn't just kill children. They also killed 200 young llamas.
So I stabbed him 37 times in the chest.
Right. So outside the city is and I'm not going to say this right, Huacos Eráticos de la Fertilidad Moche. It is a display of oversized statues displaying male and female fertility rituals, if you know what I'm saying. The ancient Moche people would they would dabble in creating erotic sculptures, but these are like humorously large recreations of them.
Yeah,
So
this guy's hung, dude.
so they've had this collection of statues for a while, and they're very beloved by locals. Then 2022, they debuted a new one, and I think this one is the best one yet.
That's wild, dude. Who
hmm
who's making these?
I think just artists. So like they're based off of,
Local
I guess
artists.
the most people really did make like smaller creations of them, and then they made expanded them, made them to tourist attraction.
Wow, some of these are really graphic.
Yeah, so that new one, um, that was actually like it became a news story right away, and then 2 weeks later, it was vandalized. I know I would not want to be the guy who
Dude,
had
that's
to
funny.
wash that off. You'd
That's,
like it.
I did with my tongue.
Round two. Fight!
This looks like America to me.
That could be New York. Nah, not New York. Maybe DC. Yeah, building short. Yeah, it's gonna be DC. Yeah, I see the Washington Wizards here. On 20th and M. Yeah, we're right on the T on Lingers Court. All right.
yup.
Everybody knows Washington, D.C. It's the capital of the United States. It's where the president lives, Congress makes their laws, the Supreme Court operates. It's one of the most surveilled, controlled, and scrutinized cities on earth. Every inch of it is theoretically accounted for. It's home to the Smithsonian Institution, it's the world's largest museum and research complex. 19 museums that are all free to the public and funded by the government. It's filled with monuments, memorials, and federal buildings.
All right, so obviously there's a lot we can talk about with Washington D.C. and there's a ton of history there. But I felt like a lot of it was pretty well known, pretty obvious stuff. So I went pretty deep into the history of DC, and I actually
Went deep.
stumbled upon a man that went by the name of Harrison Dyer. Harrison Dyer was a world-renowned entomologist, which is someone who studies insects. He graduated from MIT and also had a PhD from Columbia University. Over the course of his career, he named over 3,000 insect species.
Was he just
He
finding them or naming them?
Yeah, so I think he was like the first person to be like, this is its own species, and then he would name it. I don't think he just renamed the ladybug.
So he's finding them?
Yeah, like I think he was like out there with like a magnifying glass in the weeds, dude. Anyway, this guy is like huge in the science world apparently. I've never heard of him, but he has his own scientific law named after him. Some mathematical formula that describes how insects grow between molts. I don't know what that means. He was recognized by the New York Times at the time of his death as the foremost authority in the U.S. on mosquitoes and disease transmission. So, by all external measures, he was a respected, brilliant, distinguished scientist, genius scientist. But by all internal measures, his life was completely unraveling.
As many greats do.
So, around 1900, while still married to his first wife Zella, he met a kindergarten teacher named Waleska Polak on a
I'm
hiking
glad you
trip.
said teacher.
Yeah, so he met Waleska Polak on a hiking trip and he instantly fell in love with her. Except he didn't divorce his wife Zella, he just also married this Waleska girl. So he had two wives at once. And he maintained these two completely separate households in DC for almost a decade. He had children with both women. They had multiple kids each, different houses, different lives, all within the same city. Eventually, he got caught by his original wife, Zella, and they got divorced. He was charged with bigamy, and he was fired from the government. He then legally married Waleska in 1921, and he actually named moth species after both of his wives. At some point, while juggling his two secret families, Dyer developed a third hobby, which was digging tunnels under Washington, D.C. by hand.
Sure. Dude, guys being dudes. Yep.
Yeah. It started in 1905 when he was digging a garden bed for his wife and was, in his own words, seized by an undeniable fancy to keep on going. And so he kept going. For 10 years, Harrison secretly dug tunnels underneath Washington, D.C., and these weren't just some dirt holes in the ground. The tunnels had brick walls, 6-foot plaster ceilings, stone stairways, and electrical lighting. Some were up to 24 feet deep. Then in 1924, a truck broke through the surface in DuPont Circle, revealing the labyrinth. Dyer had moved away the previous year, and the city had no idea who built them. The Washington Post ended up running a banner headline titled Old Tunnel Here Believed to Have Been Used by War Spies and Bootleggers. Dyer watched the coverage for several days and said nothing, letting the city spiral before he eventually came forward and confessed. His explanation for why he did it? Exercise. He said some people golf, other people dig huge secret tunnels. Yeah, this guy fucking ruled, dude.
Round 3. Fight!
Japan.
Mm-hmm. This could be tough. And we're gonna be in Nagoya. Just looks like a massive freaking city. Oh my god, their cities are so big.
I don't know,
Massive city.
man. I don't know.
Massive city.
This is tough. Oh my god. Mitsukura Dori Hamachi.
Mitsukura Dori. Hamachi
Found it?
Dori. I think so. Okay. Actually, this shouldn't be too tough. You are going to see a green park a little bit to the south, and there's actually a swastika on the map.
Yes, I do see the swastika.
Oh, see cannon? Yeah, okay, so above the swastika, the Nagoya Science Museum is that green center.
Muse Cafe. Oh yeah, yeah.
Right there, I'm guessing. So, Nagoya, I didn't find too much. I found that it's Japan's 4th largest city. It's most well known for being the industrial home of Toyota. Second most well known for being named Japan's most boring city.
So I did see that the Japanese themselves do call it the most boring city in Japan. But honestly, I have to disagree. It has a lot of rich history. All three of the warlords who ended a century of civil war and unified Japan were born within 30 miles of each other, right in the Nagoya region. Basically, the three most important men in Japanese history came from this city, and there would probably be no Japan as we know it today without these three guys. It's also where the Zero fighter jet was first built. That's the fighter jet that they used to bomb Pearl Harbor. But one thing that really stood above all is that about 50 minutes north of Nagoya, there's a little suburb of the city called Kamaki, where there's a 1500-year-old Shinto shrine. And every year on March 15th, for over a millennium, it hosts what is officially called the Honen Matsuri, otherwise known as the Bountiful Harvest Festival, but I like to call it the Penis Festival. The centerpiece is a wooden phallus, and it's not like the one your girlfriend has in her nightstand. It's 8 feet tall, it's 600 pounds, it's carved fresh from a single cypress tree every single year. There's a new one every year, and the old one gets auctioned off. Someone gets to buy it and take it home. So someone has this large wooden penis in their house right now.
I told you that in confidence.
Yeah, so like at this festival, they carry the giant penis through the streets, and it's specifically carried by 42-year-old men because in Japan, 42 is considered an unlucky age, but carrying the penis takes away the curse of 42. And you know, they don't just carry this big wooden penis through the streets. They spin it around, they bounce it like a basketball.
Yeah, you
They
gotta work it.
parade it. Yeah, no, they spin on that thing, man. So the shrine itself is also covered wall to wall in phallus-shaped stones and statues, and visitors line up to rub them for luck. And food stalls
Oh,
sell penis-shaped lollipops, cakes, chocolate-covered bananas. Children are eating these. Grandmothers are eating these. Yeah, everyone's eating the penises, and it comes from. It's not perverted. It does come from a genuine place. It's people. It's couples that are praying to have children, farmers praying for good harvest. It's been going on for 1500 years, so this is deeply rooted in their culture. And just another fun fact, right next to the penis shrine is a second shrine for vaginas. So this entire neighborhood is just covered in genitals.
that's pretty interesting for Japan's most boring city.
Round 4. Fight!
Australia? No, South Africa. This could just be Cape Town.
East London is where we're at, I think. Yep. Cool.
We're on Devereux Avenue. Goes directly east-west, which I don't see.
M1 for East London, M5 for King WM's town. It says N2 also. I'm looking in this town north, Berea. Oh yeah, there's Devereux. Where's KFC though? Oh, there's KFC. Nice.
Alright, there's rare.
All right, so East London is actually not called East London anymore. It was just renamed in February of 2026 to KuGompo City. And it was named after the sound of waves crashing against the sacred rock. So this city literally just changed its name 2 months ago.
I don't think that sounds like a wave at all, but to each their own. I would say like Whoosh City.
Splash Town, bro. Yeah, so East London or KuGompo City is in the Eastern Cape, which is historically one of the most significant regions in South Africa for the anti-apartheid struggle. This is where Steve Biko is from, and I'm not going to get too in depth on Steve Biko, but I do think his story is worth looking up. And yeah, the Eastern Cape is where some of the bloodiest clashes of the apartheid era took place, and it's where really the battles were fought the hardest. So the city itself was one of the most aggressively segregated urban areas in the entire country. Enforced racial segregation here actually predated apartheid as a national policy. It was already written into local law before the rest of the country even had apartheid. And that legacy is still present today. Eastern Cape remains one of the poorest regions in South Africa, and it's still one of the most segregated. And this is a direct consequence of decades of deliberate economic exclusion. But we're not going to go too deep into any of that today. This sounds so fucked up now that I read it out loud.
I thought you were going to talk about a penis festival.
I'm just gonna say it. But we're not gonna go deep into any of that today because 170 years ago, just outside the city, one of the most spectacular acts of collective self-destruction. I can't say this.
What is that?
Let me tell you, Ben. In 1856, the Kosa people of the Eastern Cape are having a really hard time. Basically, they're already decades deep into war with British colonizers. Their cattle had disease. Their crops were failing. Into this situation walks a 15-year-old girl named Nankawus. Nankawus goes out one morning to scare birds off her uncle's crops, and comes back later that day saying she met with ancestral spirits in the reeds who had a message for the entire nation. And she claimed that these ancestral spirits told her that the nation needed to kill all their cattle, they needed to burn all their crops, and their ancestors will then rise from the dead, bring new cattle up from underground, and drive all the white colonizers into the sea. Her uncle believed what she said and took it to the king, who then believed them and told everyone, or he ordered everyone to slaughter their cattle. Over the next year, the Kosha people slaughtered between 300,000 and 400,000 cattle and destroyed all of their crops. So basically, their entire food supply and their entire economy was wiped away within a year. And then when the day came, nothing happened. No ancestors rose. No cattle were revived. The colonizers were still there. It was only then when they realized that they made a grave mistake, and unfortunately 40,000 people did starve to death. And now
Wow.
today in South Africa, Ben, how did I say that girl's name? Nankawus. Nankawus. So now today in South Africa, Nankawus is actually used as an insult for someone whose ideas are catastrophically stupid.
Oof.
So yeah, you do not want to be called a Nankawus.
So, Michael, this is a story about a hippopotamus named Hubert. In 1928, he wandered south from his home on the coast of Zululand and never looked back. Over the next few years, Hubert became a media sensation and was tracked by both local tribes and the national press. The press gave him the name Hubert very early on in his journey. But somewhere along the way, a very curious person must have somehow realized that Hubert was actually a girl. Michael,
They must have been pretty curious.
that's what I was thinking. Anyway, this is now a story about a hippopotamus named Huberta. By 1931, 3 years after leaving home, Huberta made it to East London. By this time, she was a household name and was federally protected by the royal government. Despite that, she was unfortunately shot and killed by farmers after arriving in East London. The farmers were arrested pretty soon and they were fined 25 pounds each, which is equal to about 2,500 US dollars today. Huberta's body was recovered and sent to a taxidermist in London, the real London in the UK. And then a year later, in 1932, she arrived back in East London, South Africa, to a huge crowd of 20,000 people awaiting her. Anyway, Huberta's body is now displayed at the Amatol Museum in East London, where her legacy will live forever.
It's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Besides her getting shot and killed.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. So the moral of that was leave home, travel south. The worst that could happen is that you're taxidermied.
Round 5. Fight!
We're in Manila.
Pretty important building right here.
For sure.
National Museum of Arts.
Not that important.
And I found it. This said the building's not important. Come on.
So Manila is the capital of the Philippines, and it is one of the most densely populated cities on Earth. They have 13 million people crammed into a relatively small urban area. It was founded in 1571 by Spanish colonizers though they built it on top of a thriving Muslim trading settlement that had been there for centuries before they arrived. It's one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in Southeast Asia, sitting at the intersection of Chinese, Malay, Spanish, and American colonial influence all layered on top of each other. It's vibrant, chaotic, and incredibly alive. And it's also sitting on top of one of the most catastrophic and forgotten war stories of the 20th century. So in February 1945, American forces were closing in to retake Manila from Japanese occupation. And that's when the Japanese commander ordered his troops to withdraw from the city rather than to defend it. Except a Japanese naval admiral named Iwabuchi ignored this order and decided to fight to the last man inside the city with 17,000 troops. What followed was 28 days of the most concentrated urban carnage of the entire Pacific War. The Japanese began systematically massacring civilians. They attacked hospitals, churches, Red Cross buildings, university campuses. Nothing was spared. 100,000 civilians were burned, bayoneted, bombed, and shot dead in 28 days. And that's not including combatants. That is just civilians. Entire families were executed in their homes. Patients were killed in hospital beds. People were killed in churches. Meanwhile, the Americans were firing artillery shells from the outside of the city, and those were hitting civilians too. So they were really just getting it from both sides. And by the time that month ended, Manila was the second most destroyed Allied capital city of World War II after Warsaw. And it really is like almost at the same level of like the Nanking massacre or the siege of Stalingrad, but it's just so often overlooked. Like, this is the first time I've ever heard of this. I have another interesting thing about Manila. As I said, Manila is the most densely populated city on Earth, which means housing is scarce and expensive. So for millions of people, that's just simply out of reach. So they had to get creative, and specifically that meant moving into the cemetery. The Manila North Cemetery is home to about 1 million dead people, while at the same time being home to roughly 6,000 to 10,000 living people. These people build shacks on top of graves using salvaged materials. Others move directly into mausoleums, just push the coffin to one side, put a mattress down, hang some curtains. So burial plots in Manila are not owned, they're rented on 5-year leases. So if the family stops paying rent, professional exhumers remove the bones by hand, and the evicted remains are piled into the cemetery's aisles. There's actually third generation cemetery residents. People, they're born there, raised there, married and had kids there, and will likely die there. It has its own fully functioning economy. There's Sorry stores selling snacks, karaoke machines, a basketball court at the entrance, people selling flowers and candles to visitors.
You said there's over 1 million people buried there? That sounds like it's a pretty popular cemetery. I bet people are dying to get in there.
It's not bad.